James Harden was different. Like 2019 James Harden, we can have the revisionist history we want. James Harden in 2019, people were talking about it as if he was the best scorer we've ever seen.
It's true.
No.
That was a conversation.
I wasn't partaking.
I wasn't either.
But in terms of individual scoring
really
regular seasons, we haven't seen much like.
That's probably
he's averaging 18 points per game in isolation.
And Mars, I was around when Jordan was averaging 37 a game. It was on the news every night. I was around. It was like, yo, this scoring machine in Chicago is ridiculous. And this was before ESPN. This was before cable TV was blowing up and all of that stuff. We weren't, and Jordan was incredible. I wish I would have been able to see more of him, but we weren't able to see more of him like we weren't able to see more of him like we were able to see James Harden like we did.
I think we can agree though that like Mars and Ron, like y'all said, to have a coach try that, you have to be doing something incredible to, you know what I'm saying? Because there's no other way that you tell your player, just stand behind.
Baba, you actually insulting me. You typing on your phone from basketball camp just after you got out of Mercedes-Benz and you trying to act hard, calling me a bitch. Shut up before I go get your uncle to smack you in the back of your peasy ass head. Shut the hell up talking to me.
Shut up, the uncle.
Hey, shut the hell up talking to me.
I thought you was talking to me, too.
Yeah, I was so confused. I was so confused.
I was like, Bob, you typing where?
I'll tell your father what you in here doing. He smack you in your back of your peasy ass head. Ahead,
how many seasons are better than the Harden scoring season?
Harden
how many seasons?
A lot are better scoring seasons.
It's not that many. It's not that many, bro.
How many you think, Crunch? How many you think, Crunch?
How many seasons I think are better than Harden?
The 19 season where he got busy.
For one, I was about to say I think Harden was the best player in the league at that time. I think, but as far as scoring season, better than that season. I mean, you got Will Chamberlain season, you got Jordan season, and really, man, I mean, I probably would stop there. Listen,
you're not putting Kobe 06 over it?
Except for Kobe 06. But the thing about that is that Harden averaged more points. You know what I'm saying?
Faster pace.
But yeah. And then Kobe. So I would put,
and more 3-pointers too.
It's only those three though. It would be Kobe 06, Jordan 87, and Will had several, but I would just pick the one when he averaged 50. Just because for him that was his most impressive. So yeah, I'm putting Harden in that echelon. I think Harden the top 5 scorer all time.
I'm throwing Steph 2016 in there too.
Man, I got Harden, bro. Harden.
I'm not like someone says, "Oh, I got James." I'm not mad at it, but
yeah. Yeah. Like if you throw
that scoring seasons, Mars.
Are we just talking about?
I agree with that.
Is that
I'm throwing Steph 2016.
I want to make sure I'm following you guys. Are we just talking about getting buckets? That's all we
just putting the ball in the basket. No playmaking, defense, irrelevant right now.
We're just talking about getting buckets.
And Embiid, someone said Embiid this year was on. Embiid this year would have been in these conversations.
Kobe. So it's a top 5 scoring season of all time, bro, for sure. He a top 5 scorer all time.
If I'm not mistaken, Jabbar in 72, I think he was averaging like 34 a game.
Yeah, Jabbar was nice.
What was the pace that year?
Harden, for him to be doing that from the 3-point line to the basket, to just go ahead and size up anybody. He was the best player in the league, bro. If Chris Paul doesn't, man, listen, bro. If Chris Paul don't do what he did,
I'm with you there.
Crunch, you really think he was the best player in the league in 2019?
Bro,
in the regular season, I think it's a valid claim.
You know, well, here's the thing though, because we can look right now. You got Luka Doncic, who led the league in scoring, but you know what his case is for not being the best player in the league. So now I'm asking, let's rewind back. James Harden. Obviously, he has a monster year in 2019. But with everybody else that was in the NBA during that time, you think he's better than all of these guys?
For that one year, Ron?
You can make the argument.
I'm going Harden, bro, because remember that season, Chris Paul was hurt for most of the early on. And, man, for him to put up those numbers, I feel as though he got robbed for MVP. I think he could have won a championship in 2018 if Chris Paul didn't get hurt. And he didn't have that much crazy help on his team. I mean, he had a solid team, a great team, and he took the Warriors 7 games. So for him to do that, bro, for him, he was doing whatever he wanted to do on the court. That's the main reason why. But so for those,
he had a 50-game stretch, averaging 39 points a game.
That is,
bro. The man was incredible, bro.
So that's more than half the season.
Yeah, from November to February, he was averaging 39 points a game. Set the record for the most games in a row, second most games in a row with 30 points. had dumb amounts of 40-point games. He had like a couple 60s, I want to say. Yeah, he was
you know what? Just because it's James Harden, I get some good hate on when it comes to James Harden. I'll be the first to admit. But I was trying to downplay his stretch of doing that and just that run that he was having compared to Russ's. And part of it was just because I was just trying to big up Russell Westbrook. But I do got to say, that run from Harden was insane those years. Like, I can't hype up what Russ was doing and not hype up what James Harden was doing during that time.
Let's dissect this a little bit, y'all. So, Ron, what you're saying is that you openly hated on James Harden to push a Russell Westbrook agenda? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we was talking ingredients and whatnot and stuff like that. I would say that,
can we get a yes or no answer?
25% of the way I feel about James Harden was that people were saying he was better than Russell Westbrook, and I didn't like that.
So okay, so you were upset about that. You weren't trying to push the agenda, or was
you just thought Harden and Westbrook was a closer conversation that people wanted to act like?
Yeah, but also it was part of it was I didn't like James Harden's game, didn't like the flopping, didn't like the whole the step backs and stuff like that. I didn't like Mike D'Antoni and just the system.
I think it was because he was taking 14 steps on his step back. I think that's what it was. Not that
it was
was
travel, all of it. It was just. I think it was just a bad. I didn't like him not playing defense. I thought it was just a bad.
Russ wasn't really playing much defense.
Can we dissect? Can we dissect even further and talk about the fact that now you got parents, friends, basketball fans in the stands at high school games yelling at refs for calling kids for traveling because they're taking 2 step backs? Like this is a real thing. I saw a kid hit a buzzer beater. He traveled. He
clearly it was a wall.
Step back.
Clearly
shot the ball and made it. The ref instantly. Whoop. Nah, we're not doing that.
The game's changed. The game
was tied up, but that's still a travel. That's in high school. The game.
Oh yeah.
In NBA, that they can do whatever, but in college and in high school, they gotta understand we still got to play by high school. We're not in the NBA. So when the kid does this, the stands go crazy. I'm talking about I hear grown men in the stands calling the ref B words and you stupid mother, all of this, all of that. Like these kids are in the NBA and you can do that. So those are the reasons I'm like, bro, they're not even playing basketball no more. Like that's the travel. That's So.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think James Harden should have like at least 3 MVPs, probably 4, but at least 3. And
what years?
15, 17, 18, and 19. He should have 3-peated, in my opinion.
15, 17, 18, and 19.
So the one
17, 18, and 19,
right?
Yes, I think he should have won 3 straight. But it is what it is. I understand why he didn't win 17. The triple-double was insane. But I think James Harden played better. And I'm sorry, 2 rebounds isn't enough for me to say that Russell Westbrook was the MVP. And then 2018, he won it. It's interesting because I think 18 was probably the year he least, was the year between 17 and 19 where he played the worst. But that's besides the point. And then 19, I understand Giannis's case in terms of two-way play. They won 60 games, I want to say. And Giannis was crazy. But James Harden, to me, was the MVP that year. So. And then 15, I think he was the number 2 seed behind Golden State. The team was drastically inferior. And he won 56 games. Dwight Howard missed half the year.
Harden is an interesting what if too in terms of the accolades. So as mentioned, he could have 3 MVPs. Chris Paul doesn't get hurt. He could have a finals win with the finals MVP. That's a pretty
2021. He doesn't get hurt in 2020.
Okay,
remember, people were saying who's the best player on the Nets in 2021. Before James Harden went down, they was like, is James Harden the best player on the Nets? They had him in the MVP conversation.
Harden could have had 2 championships, 2 finals MVPs, and 3 MVPs.
If James Harden was luckier,
we're having different people would have different conversations. Just from a bucket getting standpoint. And I'm looking at these numbers. Mars, do you know that in the 19 season, he has 7 50-plus games? In the 19 season, he had 17 40-plus games. So that's 24 40-plus games. That's 24 of them, just alone, where I scored 40, and I think he had 2 60 games that year. 2 of them.
He was on a run.
I think Jordan, with combining 40 and 50-point games that year, I think Jordan only had 12 the year he averaged 37. Because Jordan had some 12-point games that year. He had some 16-point games. But then he turned around and have a 47 game, a 59 game. This is why averages get a little tricky, right? Because then he'll turn around and have something like 39, 39, 36, 17, 12, but then go for 58, then 47, and then get back to 37, 36 again. He had 750-plus games that year. I forgot how good James Harden was that year. And I'm not even a James Harden fan like that. To be honest with you, Ron, I ain't even a James Harden fan like that. But to be getting buckets like that, my goodness.
But then they get locked up on Manu Ginobili like that in the playoffs. I was just
that was 2017, different year. James Harden in 2019 had 16 and a half isolation possessions a game. The next highest in the league was 5.
That's crazy. Wait, possessions
per game?
Yes. He had 16 and a half isolations a game.
That's 4 a quarter.
The next highest amount of isolations per game in the whole NBA was 5. James Harden on isolations in 2019 scored 1.1 points per possession. The only players in the league who took, let me just look this up. Let's just make sure we got this right. The only players in the league who took over 3 isolations a game to score over 1 point per possession were DeMar DeRozan, Kawhi, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Kevin Durant. James Harden scored more points per possession than all of them and took more isolations per game than all of them combined. We have never seen anything like 2019 James Harden, ever. We probably never will see anything like 2019 James Harden ever again.
We'll never. My bad.
They was basically just running clearouts for him.
1,000%.
So Mars, what you're saying is we'll never ever see another guy shoot 40 shots a game and 25 free throws and flop every time somebody looks at him.
If you even if you want to call it that, yes, we'll never see that again.
I'm talking about every time you look at me. Every time you look at me.
He got hit.
Imagine if we had a guy in today's game where at least 4 times a quarter, because you figure, what was James Harden? I think he was averaging something like 38, almost 40 minutes a game. So that's 10 minutes a quarter. So he basically playing almost the whole game. So we got a guy who almost every other time he touches the ball, we running clearouts for him. Every other trip.
We can flop.
We ain't running no action. Who have we seen that? I think the last time I remember that was Jordan with the Bulls.
Yeah, it got to be Jay. I mean, Kobe too, though. You know, Kobe played it. Nah, because Jordan played the triangle too.
They weren't ISO. No, you don't have the play-by-play for
Jordan wasn't the triangle then, though.
Right, Jordan. When Jordan was 37, the triangle wasn't there yet.
No, that was 8.
Oh, you talk. Yeah. Well, I mean, even then, though, he was still getting a lot of clearouts too.
Right. That's
what. Hold on, no. So what accounts for isolation or clear out? Is it literally four low?
Yes.
Is it when
it doesn't need to be 1-4 flat. Isolation is just you're going one-on-one. Now the alignments can be different. And you can get an isolation on the elbow if you want. It's still an isolation.
But post wouldn't count. That would count as a post touch. Or would it be a post isolation?
Not a post. That's a post up. That would be different. But anything outside of the post, one-on-one would be considered isolation. Kobe and 06. What about mid post? Like you know where Kobe and Jordan used to catch it right there,
right?
Yeah, but if you're back to the basket, it would probably be called an isolation. It would probably be called a post up. Right. But for what it's worth, Kobe in 2006. Bear with me. I'm gonna look this up. Kobe in 2006 combined about 13 isolations and post-ups a game. So less than James Harden. But the pace was different. So I guess you could throw that in there as like that's the difference. But it's not as many as James Harden. And Houston did this while being the second best offense in the NBA. So it wasn't like this wasn't leading to anything. They were the number 2 ranked offense in the league, only behind the Golden State Warriors,
right? Who
had KD, Steph, Clay, and them. And they were close to them. It was a 0.4 difference in offensive rating. So, and that's with Chris Paul being hurt and all of those things. So James Harden led the NBA in isolation efficiency and volume. That's never happened before. Ever.
That's pretty insane.
It's the player choice way. Yeah, them boys gon' get it started. The player choice way. Yeah, the player choice way. Come and switch lanes into the player choice way.